Welcome to CWIL Canada's iHub webinar, Supporting Innovative WIL Experiences for Canadian Post-Secondary Students. Stay tuned for some examples of how institutions have used funding to benefit students directly, as well as some inspiring examples of projects funded from across the country. Last but not least, we will hear what students have had to say about their innovative WIL experience. The parameters of CWIL's iHub funding require that students receive a minimum $200 direct student benefit. Institutions have provided this in a variety of ways, through direct payments to students, like stipends, honoraria, or bursaries, or through providing funding for expenses for which a student would usually be out of pocket, such as transportation, parking, personal protective equipment, program fees, professional clothing, childcare costs, internet or cell phone use, food vouchers, or fees for special events. It may also include such tangible benefits as iPads, laptops, specialized training, special equipment, or events to highlight student success. Specialized equipment or hardware may be a direct student benefit if it stays with the student, or it may be a project cost if it stays with the institution. As you can imagine, we have received lots of amazing proposals in the first 2 rounds of funding. Projects that stood out to us were those that had a combination of the following. They favored direct student benefits over project costs. These funds are meant to provide direct, tangible benefit to Canadian students, and projects that proposed to do this were prioritized. We also looked at the learning design and proposed learning outcomes for students. Quality in this area is important, so a focus on a quality framework such as the PAIR model in projects also scored well. Be explicit in your proposals around how your work-integrated learning project will incorporate things such as pedagogy, experience, assessment, and reflection, or other quality WIL indicators. Removing barriers for students to participate in work-integrated learning is also an important factor that we consider. Explain to us how your project aims to do this. Of course, innovation is also key. What new or interesting ways of doing work-integrated learning are you proposing? This may be a new program area that has not incorporated WIL before. It may be a new partnership, or it may build on the success of WIL in other programs. There are many ways to demonstrate innovation in WIL, and we want to hear about your ideas. Leveraging technology and increasing access for underrepresented groups of students is also an important factor. Leveraging technology also speaks to innovation and removing barriers. Projects that demonstrated how technology did this also stood out. Throughout your proposal, we really value clarity. Applications that clearly demonstrated how they met the criteria made a positive impression. Now that you know what we're looking for, let's talk about some inspiring projects from across the country. First, we have Camosun College in British Columbia. Their early childhood education students teamed up with the local Indigenous Friendship Center for a unique field placement experience. Over the course of 2 workshops, students and their community mentors would meet on campus in the ELC lab space to deepen their understanding of inquiry-based learning and culturally appropriate reflective practice. Using the Indigenous Early Learning Childcare Framework, the opportunity allowed for shared skill development opportunities to strengthen the WIL experience, as it connects both students and frontline professionals to engage with current theory, resources, and pedagogy from a local Indigenous perspective. This reinforces learning that is meaningful and relevant to the children and family in their communities. This project used funding to provide direct student benefits that included stipends, transportation costs, childcare coverage, and resource materials for students. They also allocated funding to provide honoraria to their community partners. Next, we have the University of Victoria, where a geography class did an applied research project in mapping with a variety of community partners. The community mapping class, run by the Department of Geography at UVic, connects students with community and theory with practice through collaborative community mapping endeavors. While this course has been offered for years, this funding will bring class projects and community relationships to a higher level. The iHub grant will enhance course outcomes by covering project costs, such as printing and transportation, ensuring access to appropriate technology for all students, community partners, and the instructor, and by providing funds needed for community partners to participate within COVID-related time and funding constraints. An innovation for these collaborations is that community partners will be provided with the same technology as students for the duration of the semester, and part of the student collaboration with their community partner will involve capacity building for their community partner. Much like the previous project, the direct student benefits in this case also included transportation and childcare. Additionally, the students received iPads, printing costs, and access to the Adobe InDesign software. In addition to providing some honoraria for partners, this project allocated a small portion of funding to project oversight. Moving on to York University in Ontario, we have an applied research project for a dance program where students worked with a community partner that they had sourced themselves. Dance Senior Projects is pilot testing an innovative approach to WIL that merges a placement with a capstone. Students find a community partner with whom they develop an applied project that will benefit both, such as a virtual community dance series, dance injury prevention video series, a dance curriculum plan for special needs children, and an emerging artist dance festival. In prior years, senior projects were not partner connected at all. Developing a senior project provides upper-level students with an important opportunity for self and professional development. It is a time for students to take charge of their own education and decide what they most want to learn before leaving York. For those who haven't decided on a career path, this course can be a time to explore a new profession by applying their dance training to a new area, such as healthcare, education, or community-based work. In addition to stipends, this project incorporated prizes for students. Project costs included lighting, microphones, gift cards for the community, videography, and a website domain. At George Brown College, entrepreneurship students had a unique opportunity to get a work-integrated learning experience. The START GBC Work Integrated Learning Entrepreneurship Program is a pilot initiative that will allow students to gain a WIL credit. Each cohort will come together once a week for a 2 to 3 hour session that will lay the foundations for bringing business, social innovation ideas to life. The weekly sessions are coupled with one-on-one coaching and mentorship from industry partners, as well as events, including the Why Not Me speaker series and the Fundamentals Workshop program. START GBC will also be holding a Pitch It GBC competition designed to provide seed funding to support aspiring student entrepreneurs in developing and pitching their business or social innovation ideas. Funding allocations were for direct student benefits in the form of student stipends and some project costs related to oversight of the project. Moving on to Quebec, at Collège Notre-Dame-de-Foy, ambulance and pre-hospital study students did a field placement with various ambulance companies. As part of their mandatory unpaid field placement, ambulance and pre-hospital studies students must work at one of the 2 large ambulance companies in Quebec. Sometimes this means traveling great distances for their placement. Through the purchase of iPads and a specialized web application used in the industry, students were able to become more immersed in their WIL experience. The students will leave this experience with a greater knowledge of the tools used in the industry and better prepared for their careers upon graduation. Direct student benefits included program fees, iPads, specialized applications, and transportation. All requested funding was for direct student benefit and no project costs were allocated. Mount Allison University's religious studies class had a unique opportunity to work with a local daycare on an applied research project called Representation Matters. Exposure to picture books that reflect the lives of all people develops positive self-image and empathy. And yet, as research by the CCBC and WNDB indicates, many children grow up not seeing themselves represented in the books that they read. This proposed iWill project sees Mount Allison University students apply in-class learning about representation in children's literature to support a local play school in cultivating an inclusive learning environment. Working under the supervision of the organization's 2 early childhood educators, they will use the Lee and Low questionnaire to audit the cultural responsiveness of the 5,000 volume collection, present their filings to the board of directors, and prepare a written report for stakeholders outlining their results and identifying meaningful next steps for developing a culturally responsive library. In this case, students received stipends and transportation costs, and some funding was also allocated to cover printing and supplies. Lastly, we go to University of Prince Edward Island, where psychology students did applied research in partnership with Black, Indigenous, People of Color United for Strength Home Relationship. This semester, students enrolled in social justice and psychology are focusing on racial justice in their course. While the national conversation around equity, diversity, and inclusion flourishes, there are few organizations in this region doing anti-racist education and advocacy work, and there is a clear need to build capacity in this area. This work fundamentally cannot happen without leadership from Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and many community leaders are spread thin with their own anti-racist work. Students in this course will engage in community service learning with BIPOC USHR in order to support their capacity building needs, including the development of educational resources tailored to specific demographics, considering what anti-racist work is appropriate for which students based on their own racial identity. Student direct benefits were in the form of training fees, and project costs included a Canva subscription and honoraria for community partners. While we found so many of the projects inspiring, innovative, and amazing, next, we'd like to share what some of the students have said about their experience. Rebecca from Conestoga College says, I was able to brighten up the day for seniors during this ongoing pandemic. Running programs was a time to let them have some fun to get their minds off everything that is going on in the world. Francis from George Brown College has said, as someone who studies food, my plan for the future is to work in the food industry and hopefully build my own food business in the future. I know for a fact that working in the food industry alone is not enough to become knowledgeable about building a food restaurant business. Aside from culinary skills, I have to develop, improve, or adapt entrepreneurial skills that are essential for building a successful business. I was someone who knew very little about entrepreneurship before I took the program. However, I was able to learn new things, obtain knowledge, as well as develop skills during my WIL experience. Through the tasks that were given to us during each session, I was able to create and develop ideas, learn about business operations, positively and effectively manage staff through human resources, know about the legalities for building a business or company, manage the cash flow, effectively introduce and market my product, service, etc. My WIL experience helped me to expand my knowledge for creating an entrepreneurial mindset and develop necessary skills for my professional career. Sasha from Mount Allison University has said, I created a piece of media that allowed for my community partner to reach the wider community and a range of folks to make the information and research provided by the community partner available outside of academic circles, so as to remove barriers in accessing their articles and to make them appealing by telling a story. Jessica at Brock University says, as a social justice educator, I feel that teaching from a lens of anti-racism and empathy is extremely important. I think providing a clear understanding of cultures and groups I am teaching about makes for an authentic and relatable experience. I worked closely with the Indigenous education team at the HWDSB to provide a series of lessons related to the land acknowledgement to ensure non-Indigenous and Indigenous students truly understood the words they were reading, and so that I could represent First Nations students and their history and contemporary experiences. Kelsey from Simon Fraser University has said, the course content encouraged me to deeply reflect on my own personal biases and assumptions, some of which were underlying, and I wasn't entirely aware of them. Overall, the course has positively impacted not only my thinking, but future actions I will take in the workplace to work towards fostering a positive, safe, and inclusive environment. I hope this information has been helpful to provide inspiration for writing your own innovative will proposals. If you have any questions or would like to run your ideas past a receptive ear, please do reach out to one of our regional associate directors. We would be happy to answer your questions, hear your ideas, and help you fine-tune your applications. In the West, we have Jenny Nilsson for institutions in British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. You can reach Jenny at jennyn@cwillcanada.ca. In the Central Region, that's Ontario, Manitoba, and the Territories, you can contact Sean Elliott. Sean is available at sean@cwillcanada.ca. For Quebec and French-speaking Canada, please contact Kim Bracken. You can reach Kim at kimb@cwillcanada.ca. Representing our Atlantic provinces, that's New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland, we have Krista Steeves. If you're in Central, you can also feel free to reach out to Krista s@cwillcanada.ca. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to hearing from you and reading about your innovative will applications.